Greetings, Ravens. Cleric here. Kind of doing our free wheeling and dealing video here real quick. I'm just now kind of catching up to some recent news just because I've been busy with family stuff, as you're all pretty aware. You know, watches my socials or my posts knows I've been doing a lot of family stuff. My daughter's doing a lot of games. My daughter has another 3 games this week, another 4 games next week. So yeah, very, very busy. So that being said, I kind of want to go over patch 1.07.2 just because it's getting to the point now where I appreciate From Software like doing these granular updates. I kind of like the fact like they're adjusting things that are problematic, and honestly up to this point I've kind of agreed, I would say almost like 90 to 95% of the time, with some of the adjustments they have been making to the different parts. Now that being said, I could disagree with how much they've nerfed Fortaleza at this point. I'll get to that actually in a minute because of a meme Goma posted, but this is the one I don't understand. So far to this point, when a really strong weapon has kind of defined the meta to a point, From Software has done a pretty good job of toning it down, but not completely eliminating it from the meta. The only real exception I've seen to that in recent days, you see on here, is the Viento. The Viento nerf was so much to the point where you basically don't even see this weapon anymore. But something that's been dominant for a long time is the Zimmermans, and the Zimmermans were dominant, but you actually still see Zimmermans used today, but they aren't on as absurdly dominant as they were for the longest time. So I've always kind of appreciated the more moderated approach they've had to weapons or part balancing, is kind of toning down certain things that make them still viable or still usable, but not to the point where they make them completely unusable nerfing wise. But they seem to have almost regressed with this patch. So shoutouts to Crimson Fury over on the Overboost Gang Discord. He's the one who alerted me to this guy on Reddit. This one being Loopy. This one, he has his posts. He's put some posts on Reddit recently. I'll put a link to his thing in below. And it has kind of compares numbers that makes it easier. Rather than me having to go do it, he already did the work for me, so appreciate this. And you can see on the left side is patch 1.07. On the right side is patch 107.2. So you see that the Duckett here went from 135 to 172 in attack power, 300 to 315 in impact, and 151 to 160 in the cumulative impact. This was definitely felt, and not only that, they actually increased the magazine size by 1, which that extra 1 shot actually I've seen make some difference in a few matches. And of course the total rounds is more of a PvE thing than PvP. That being said though, they were seeing some use online, but this is where I'm confused. They were seeing some use online. It wasn't really meta defining. There wasn't like this crazy Duckett revolution where all the top PvP builds were all using Duckett. Now, granted, I could be wrong. Maybe on the Japanese side of things are different. For those of you unaware, From Software is always very closely kept in contact with the player base as far as PvP goes when it comes to Armored Core. This is true going back to 4th gen and 5th gen. I did it quite a bit in those games where they got feedback and adjustments were made to the game for balance-wise based on player feedback from the Japanese player base. So maybe there was something going on in the Japanese player base I don't know about, but as far as I'm aware, this was not a meta-defining change. They started seeing use, but weren't like overpowered. But they went from 235 to 272, and the most recent change, 1.07.2, did this. It made 3 significant nerfs. 3. It went from 272 to 249. So I get my calculator out here. So to kind of get, just to give an idea, so we had 272 from 235. So you have 235, you divide that by 272, you get 0.86. So that's essentially a 14% increase in damage. That's essentially what you have here at this point, 14%. You now went from 272 to 249. So we take that again and take the 235, divide it by 249, and you get a 6% difference. 6% more damage. I don't think damage was the problem with the Duckets. I don't think they did that much damage. Even with the damage boost from before, I didn't think it was a whole lot. Now, in my original reaction video, I was a little concerned about the Duckets being a little too strong, but after playing with them some and seeing other people playing with them in online and PvP, they were usable, but they weren't crazy. But the other change they have here too is the reload time, an extra half a second. And that's not as bad as what Viento got back in the day. Viento got hard nerfed mostly because of the reload. But the big thing is the recoil. They increased the recoil per shot to 49. Now, these were already a pretty recoil dependent weapon in the first place. your arms had to have decent recoil control to make them work. So I actually went in and I found my original video on the left side of the original video when I did my 1.07 reaction. And on the right side is 1.07.2. And I went and did the same frame, the same parts, and I mean, the head might be different here, but it's the same arms essentially, and using the same FCS, everything else, and firing at these people at basically same distance, or at least close to the same distance, and seeing what it looks like. And look at this video here for a minute. All right, looking pretty similar, right? Notice that, did you see that just now on this side? You see that shot go wild? They're both at 82 meters, and that never happened on this side. On this side, that shot went wild. But look at when I do a second test at the same distance. Look at this. They even got that one. You see here, that one, I got that one on the left side. I was at 72. On the right side, I was at 55. Watch this. Again, no shots missed. On the right side, another missed shot. Now, when I was recording it, I had a wide variety of things. I had 2 or 3 miss at around the 80 meter distance or so. I've had other ones miss. The point is, you're actually missing shots from closer because of how recoil works in the game. Those who aren't aware of recoil, when you double shot things like this, the recoil gets affected even more. And so when you're running dual Duckets like this, it actually, your recoil control stat matters even more than it used to, with a 49 recoil stat. I think this might make these weapons not used again. I think it's a bad enough of a nerf. The recoil control was already bad enough as is. It required recoil control arms to make them really effective at something beyond 100 meters. With this, I think that makes them, I think you'll see them erased from PvP almost completely now. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong. You know, a lot of things are CQC or in your face kind of balance or meta wise anyways, but this is just, this is too much. And that's why I said it's kind of a regression from their patching things, like their patching decisions up to this point. It's because this to go from this buff to this much of a nerf, and then not even nerfing what's the good thing about the Duckets was the impact changed. You could stun people so fast. And now they left that part alone, reduced it, does even less damage, which by the way, that was noticeable in the video too, how much less damage it took. And then you make it so that they're less accurate the more you spam them. It's a bizarre choice. I don't understand why you would go from incremental, small, you know, measured changes that make weapons or parts still usable but not completely dead, and then do this to the Ducket. They already weren't meta defining. I said, unless something was going on in Japan, I don't know about, but this is just, I think this is way too hard of an adjustment. So there's also some changes with, you know, like boosters, where everything got a vertical thrust. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 got another buff. It keeps getting buffed like every patch, it seems like. The Walter rifle got buffed again. And it's just, there's these, I mean, this is, I don't care about this. I mean, it's just the idea of like this, there's things they're changing that I'm trying to figure out what their goal is for balancing wise. And they still haven't touched the LRB. Speaking of LRB, here's a nice little meme from Goma here. It's the nice death, you know, Grim Reaper meme for all these things that's been nerfed over the year, over the different patches. And he's thinking this LRB next, because everyone pretty much knows the LRB is probably the strongest weapon in the game now. One of the strongest, if not the strongest weapon in the game. If you don't care, like who's Goma, who's the big deal? Goma has been doing a lot of ranked and a lot of tournaments and winning quite a few of them. He actually posted the other day where he's now ranked S1, #1 spot on both teams and singles on the ranked ladder for PvP. So yeah, so not only have they not touched the LRB yet, they also haven't touched the Basho arms. Why are the Basho arms still untouched? I don't understand. You want to talk about a part that gets a ton of usage and just stat dense? I mean, the problem is it has these great stats for so little weight and so little energy drain. Yeah, sure. Recoil on it is terrible. Yeah, sure. Fire on a spec on it's, you know, terrible. But if you're using missile launchers or weapons that don't care that much about constant fire or tracking, that doesn't matter for the weapons you're using on your arms. It doesn't matter. And these things give you so much AP and so much defense for so little weight energy load. And if you don't care about your recoil, don't care about your firearm spec, or you kind of make up for that with your FCS choices, with your weapon choices, these arms are nuts. That's why they're on so many builds. The fact that the Basho still has not been touched all these patches later is beyond insane to me. Now granted, I feel bad for melee players, so I don't want to nerf like the best arms for your melee people, because melee has been eating good in Armored Core 6 as far as how cool melee is in the game, but melee hasn't really defined the meta very much either. And so I don't want to nerf that into non-existence, but they got to do something with this, because Basho is like stinking everywhere. It's on so many builds that don't even use melee or blades. So I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where they're at right now head-wise. So the reason, now the other thing I want to talk about in this is that people thought another patch was coming and said another patch was coming because of SteamDB. Now in SteamDB, you had all these things happen, and after the last patch we had with 1.07 and 0.1, there were more changes in the SteamDB page, and everyone's like, ooh, what's all this stuff happening? All these things go on. Of course, you see the release date. This actually went to public here on this side. But what everyone was freaking out about was this. This right here is a app to package. An app to package essentially means they've made bigger changes or added things or changed things to the game files beyond just simple stat changes. And the reason why people thought that the previous, even the 1.07, 1.01, 0.1 basically being a bug fix, was they're expecting a bigger patch coming or some sort of content coming again, is because of this. The reason why that matters, if you scroll down here quite a ways, let's go all the way back to November. Because remember, in December is when patch 1.05 came out, which all the new added new parts, added ranked. You'll see here. Oh, this is really far down. On November, I passed it. On November the 27th is the last time we had this app added package to Steam Sub. The last time this happened. And shortly after that, sure enough, we get 1.05 with the new ranked battles, and the what came with matchmaking, and also came with new parts. So the reason why people are freaking out about this so much is for that reason. Now, granted, what that means for us currently, I don't know. Nothing has changed, nothing has happened. I don't know anything. Even if I did know something specifically, I probably couldn't tell you. Now, I can tell you I was asked a question about maybe potentially making some changes to how a certain setup works in the game. That's about as far as I'm going to go, because I don't want to ruin it, or if it ever happens, I don't want to divide the trust of Bandai. But they got my thoughts and inputs on something they're looking at potentially doing. But other than that, I don't think that would even require this, to be honest with you, though I could be wrong as far as how the development goes in the game cycle. So maybe there is another thing coming. Maybe they're working on something else that's a major drop. I have no idea. All I know is that I'm happy in general that this game is still getting some adjustments to the part balancing, and they're still caring about the PvP side of this as far as that goes. Now, I think if they really cared that much or really want to do a whole lot, they'd add matchmaking for non-ranked. I think that'd be awesome. With that being said, it's nice from a lifelong Armored Core fan seeing them care this much about the game. With the major regular release, they talked about the Armored Core updates video. They actually talked about how 1.07 is how far verdict they got. So if you get something like a 1.08, Armored Core 6 will officially be the most regulation or patch balance update change game in the series. And so if that's the case, that's cool, because that shows how much they care about it. And there have been multiple articles now. I covered it, Armored Core news video. Speaking of which, another Armored Core news video coming either next week or the week after. And it's just, I want this game to be the best it can be. I think it's already pretty good. I want it to be even better. I know it has its haters. If you hate on it, fine. I'm not saying you have to like or love the game, but the fact that From Software is still making changes and adjustments to the game personally gives me hope for more things in the future, because it shows they're still paying attention. Now, some of these changes I think they made were good. Were the Duckett thing necessary? Absolutely not. I don't know what that change was. I'm hoping that's just a fluke for things in the future. So maybe we'll see a change to the LRB. Maybe we'll see a change to the Basho arms. Who knows? I think those both could use some adjustments down because they're a little too strong at the moment. And who knows? Maybe they'll even rebuff, the wheelchair legs, because I need that totally, because wheelchair warrior to the end. So I just love the forward legs. I don't know what to tell you. All right, thank you all so much for my random rant video here, where I talked for, OBS says 15 minutes about random nonsense. I have a stream coming up maybe tonight. I'm actually potentially entering into Striker Atassa's tournament. I might go into that on Saturday night. Well, I have some things planned here and there, and a bunch of stuff coming on. Video coming next week, making a couple announcements, and just a lot of stuff happening on top of all the family stuff. So if you appreciate, you know, my random ramblings for 15 minutes and talking about Armored Core stuff, and you want to see more of it, if you like the video, please subscribe if you don't mind. It's free and it really does help me out a whole lot. And you can become a member for only $1 a month. But you know, I never ask for money because it's awkward and weird and things are not cheap and everything's expensive right now. All right. Thank you all for your time, Ravens. I will see you next time. Cleric signing off.